Hello everyone and welcome to part 14 of our F1 22 driver career mode here for Williams for the 4th round of season 2 at the Austrian Grand Prix, first sprint round of the season. So we've got that extra added element here, that extra race, and that should spice things up heading into this weekend. Last time out we were in China, where we got our first one and only point of the season so far. Albon also getting himself another 2 points, so he's on 3, we're on 1. In terms of constructors, we're sitting in 7th, just 1 point off of AlphaTauri. It was a very chaotic end to that race in China with the rain coming down and everyone being on slick tyres still. So yeah, we got a bit of a showcase of how overpowered the AI can be in those conditions. In terms of upgrades, every single team has bought an upgrade heading into this one. We have jumped Haas to become the 4th lowest rated team now, so slowly moving ourselves up the field. And in terms of other changes, McLaren has overtaken Alpine to become the best of the rest car in the field. Here we go though, heading into the sprint round. It's looking to be a dry weekend, and so let's head to the grid rundown for the sprint race.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Russell, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Norris, Perez, Ocon, Ricciardo, and Fernando Alonso, Benjamin, Magnussen, Pierre Gasly, and Joe, Albon, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, and Sebastian Vettel, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
So here we are sitting on the grid for the Austrian sprint race. Not a bad qualifying session for us to be in P11, just a few spots ahead of our teammate Alex Albon, a bit further down the grid, but it is 5 lights and we are underway for the sprint. It's an average start, not the best. Everyone ahead of us starting to pull away. We've also got Kevin Magnussen coming up our inside as we head down towards turn. We've got our teammate right behind us. We go around the outside of the Haas, move back into P11, so we haven't lost any positions off the start. So not great, not poor either, as we head down towards turn 2 and 3 now. Alonso and Ricciardo going side by side up ahead of us. We've got to be careful of dive bombs. Also got to be careful of the massive concertina effect that happens here. Going a bit wide to make sure we don't go up the back of Alonso, losing the rear end a little bit, trying to get on the power. I tried to sort of try and get a better exit than Fernando, but just wasn't quite able to as we cut to the end of lap 2 now. And this is good news for us. We've got George Russell and Sergio Perez coming into the pit lane to fix some damage that they've got. So that's 2 free positions for us, and that'll be some very bad news for those top teams, losing some crucial points. Meanwhile, now with us in P9, looking up ahead, we've got Gasly coming up our inside, and then the 2 Alpines ahead of us racing each other. They're going to have a poor exit and continue to go side by side. This will bring us into that battle, and going around the outside of Gasly there has also forced him to battle Magnussen, which takes it a bit of pressure off of us. Looking to turn 3, I thought about going down the inside, but I also figured 3 wide into turn 3 there isn't the greatest option. Most likely would have gotten some sort of damage, which would have either had to pit for or just would have cost us a bunch of time. So I'm just going to sit behind these guys while they try and sort this out between each other, as they are still battling. A little bit more wheel banging going on between the teammates. These guys don't have the greatest of relationships, as we know, in the real world, and it looks like that's sort of translating over in the game as well, as they still, this is now half a lap that these guys are going side by side. Alonso does get the move done around the outside eventually, and I'm going to try and set up a nice exit on Ocon here as we go to his left. He comes back on the racing line, so we're going to switch to the right, use a bit of battery, and get ahead of him into the second to last corner there. He decides to actually hold it around the outside, but into the final corner there, he's just not quite able to get the line done. We get back on the racing line and get ahead and looking to chase down Fernando Alonso now, as Ocon has been forced back into Magnussen. Magnussen just sort of taking the scraps that we're giving him. Every time we pass someone, he seems to get himself involved. There's 3 wide between himself, Ocon, and Gasly. Gasly comes out ahead of that into P9. Magnussen still side by side with Esteban though, as they head up towards turn 2 and 3, up the hill into the braking zone. They're not going to dive bomb Gasly, but Magnussen actually locking up, running into the side of Ocon. I wonder if there's any damage there for Ocon or Magnussen, and these guys are still going side by side. They've all got DRS because they were close enough to Gasly. Magnussen coming back at the Alpine now. He'll have the outside of turn 4, and will he get the move done here? Ocon will obviously try and keep his nose in, but the Haas does get their run around the outside into P10. And that's a good position for the Haas guys, who are still yet to score any points this season, but now cutting to lap 8 towards the end of the sprint race. We are right behind Alonso still. We get a nice exit out of turn 1. Meanwhile, he had a bit of a slide in the rear, and so that means we're going to be able to come right up past him here and actually completely ahead before the braking zone. I go defensive into turn 3, and he locks up anyway, trying to go around our outside, and so that is P7 for us. Now, that'll be 2 points to our name if we're able to hold on to this position for the rest of the sprint, but that Alpine is very quick. We were only really to keep up with him because of the amount of DRS and the amount of straights that was able to sort of pull us along here. But on lap 9, Kevin Magnussen, I just said he was in a good position. These guys really wanting to score points, and they certainly seem to have the pace for it this season. They just don't have the luck, and that's been demonstrated again here with Magnussen now retiring from the sprint round. He'll have to start the Grand Prix from the rear of the grid. Meanwhile, up ahead here still on lap 9, Alonso all over the back of us just a lap after we passed him. He's got the DRS, we don't, and he easily flies past us before even getting into the braking zone of turn 4. He runs a little bit wide in the corner, but not enough for us to get back ahead. And so that's us back down to P8 into the single point scoring position. But now on the final lap, Pierre Gasly has re-caught us again, and he's going to go to our inside of turn 4. I'm going to try and hold the outside because the inside hasn't worked out for us the last couple of times, and unfortunately unable to get the move done there. And so we drop down to P9 outside of the point, still in the top 10 position, which sets us up nicely for the Grand Prix. But unfortunately, only points for the top 8 in the sprint race. We're going to try and get ahead of the AlphaTauri again and score that one single point, deploying the little bit of battery that we have left, making sure to stay right in the slipstream. But unfortunately, Gasly also had ERS to deploy there to defend as we head through the final corner. Unfortunately, not able to get it done. And so it will be P9 for us here. Not a bad result in the end for the sprint race. Sets us up nicely for the Austrian Grand Prix. If we can start inside a points paying position, then hopefully all we have to do is maintain position to score ourselves some more decent valuable points in the actual Grand Prix. And for Albon as well, not a bad result in P11, moved himself up a couple of spots. And yeah, hopefully just an issue for someone ahead of us, or if he's even able to just get ahead of Ocon, that'll get him into the points as well. But we do have to be careful. We have to watch out for the likes of Perez and Russell, who will be very quick and trying to work their way through the field back towards the front of the grid. Lando and Ricciardo also actually doing very well for McLaren there to be P4 and P6 there, sandwiching Lewis Hamilton in P5. Sainz did go on to win the sprint there ahead of Verstappen and Leclerc, and that's your top 3 there, Ferrari, Red Bull and Ferrari. So yeah, a whole lot to look at heading into this one, but let's run to the rundown for the Austrian Grand Prix.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg, and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of around 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill of turn 3. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly, Benjamin, Ocon, Albon, Stroll and Mick Schumacher, Leclerc, Perez, Lando Norris and Tsunoda, Russell, Ricciardo, Sebastian Vettel and Nicholas Latifi. Joe, they've taken a grid penalty, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are lining up on the grid in P6 for the Austrian Grand Prix. A whole bunch of grid penalties for both the McLarens and also Charles Leclerc and a few other cars mean we move up a few spots into P6. Albon also getting himself up into the top 10 in P8. So hopefully we can carry this good fortune forwards and get some decent points for ourselves and for the team in this Grand Prix. Austria has always been a track that I've been able to perform well at. We saw in last season as well, it was a double points finish for us here in Williams, so hopefully we can sort of bring that good fortune back from that season and do well this weekend. You can see nailing the grid slot there, just another step in the right direction before we start this race, and we've just got to focus getting a good start. Make sure to stay clean of any incidents that may occur at turn 1. It can get very bunched up with a lot of cars heading into a pretty decent high-speed corner, and yeah, we just got to be very careful to not waste this opportunity. But the lights are out and we are underway, and it is a horrible start for ourselves. Ocon straight away past us. We're down to P7. Ocon, going now down the inside of Gasly, not able to get the run though. And Sergio Perez already right behind us. He started in P12. He's starting on the soft compound tyre to try and make up for how far down the grid he is, and he's already made up 4 spots through turn 1 into P8, and he now dives it down at our inside, also on Ocon and also on Gasly. He tries to go for a triple overtake into turn 3, and I'll tell you what, it might actually work. He's got ourselves an Ocon. He's alongside Gasly still as we head down towards turn 4, and on those softer compound tyres in a quicker car here, and also on the inside, he'll be able to get the exit, and that is him into P5, so that is an incredible first half a lap of the race for Sergio Perez to move from P12 to P5 there. And you can just see on the top left, Leclerc also moving himself into the top 10 behind ourselves and Albon as we now cut to the end of the first lap. Ocon looking to keep moving himself further up the field now on the inside of Pierre Gasly. They'll go side by side through turn 1. That'll give him a poor exit. Ocon doesn't get the move done. He's very slow on the exit, and so we get ahead of the Alpine once again into P7. Still 1 spot further back from where we started, with obviously Sergio Perez moving himself up the field. But now as we head to lap 3, looking to overtake the AlphaTauri Gasly, we go to the inside. He defends, so we switch to the outside, around the outside of turn 3. We try to get the better exit, and we do get the move done into P6. For now, at least. We also get the DRS, and Gasly doesn't, which means he's now going to be under attack from Esteban Ocon, which will help us open a bit of a gap to these guys. Gasly goes defensive again into turn 4. Ocon unable to go around the outside, and so for now the positions remain the same as they were before we get into that section of track. Now looking ahead though, we've got Carlos Sainz attacking Lewis Hamilton for the lead of the race. Hamilton had a very good start to get himself up into P1, but now the Spaniard wants to come and get his race win that he sort of, I guess, would feel he deserves. He got pole and he won the sprint race, so it'd be a bit of a shame for the Ferrari man if he was unable to get it done. He wasn't able to get the move into the lead done, and he's now finds himself under attack from Max Verstappen heading into turn 3. We've also got Fernando Alonso doing very well in the Alpine there, right behind him in P4, so if one of them slip up, that Alpine could very, very likely find himself in a podium paying position. They've also got Sergio Perez right behind him, so immediately in this race, Perez has found himself in the top battle. Once again, that's some incredible stuff there from the Mexican in the Red Bull. Verstappen still trying to get the move done on the Ferrari as they go side by side out of turn 4 through turn 5 and 6, now down the inside into the double left section. Is he able to get the move done on Sainz? No, he's not. Sainz sweeps around the outside of the left-hander, and that means Sainz back into P2. Verstappen has to slot back into P3 for now, and Perez right behind Fernando Alonso, so Alonso finds himself in a bit of a Red Bull sandwich, and Verstappen into the pit lane. He's actually, I didn't even realise, got a bit of damage at some point, and so he has to come into the pit lane to fix his front wing. Meanwhile, up ahead, Perez, a horrible run through the final corner. He's going very slowly, so we're going to try and make the most of this opportunity. He goes defensive. We're going to go to the outside of turn 1. He's going to go for the crisscross out on the exit. He has a very poor exit there, running a little bit wide. Obviously, he wasn't on the ideal racing line heading into that corner, and obviously the Red Bull are a lot quicker than us, but it'd be silly to not try and at least take the opportunity to get ourselves into what is now P4, with Verstappen having to come into the pit lane and also passing Perez. So we find ourselves in a very good position at the moment. I said we normally do well around Austria, and so far sitting in P4, it looks like that is still the case, although Perez now down the inside, goes a bit wide again into turn 4. We get the cutback again and get ourselves back into 4th place, but I again imagine we won't hold this for too long as we head into turn 1. Perez attacks us once again. Can we again go for a cutback? Yes, we can. So Perez making the same mistake and us making the same maneuver, but this time Perez going to come back at us heading into turn 3, and he's actually completely ahead before we even get into the braking zone. And so I'm just going to sort of sit behind there. It's silly to waste time battling. But meanwhile, talking about battling, Gasly and Ocon battling away with each other for P6 and P7. These guys don't have the greatest relationships in real life either, so a little bit of frost going on between them, and again, it looks like that relationship translating into the game. Gasly to the inside of turn 4. Ocon, this time, he has a bit of a better chance going around the outside of turn 4. Is he able to actually pull it off this time, though? He'll have the inside of the double left. Gasly tries to hold it around the outside. These guys are really going at it, but Ocon just gets his nose ahead there into P6 for now, and yeah, that's him ahead of the Frenchman. Now heading on to lap number 9, though. Again, Sainz attacking for the lead of the Grand Prix. This time he goes to the outside of turn 1, sweeps around the outside. Does he get the move done? Yes, he does. Hamilton has a poor exit, so that's Sainz into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Hamilton into P2. Alonso doing very, very well to still be in 3rd place, but now we look back to P8. Our teammate Alex Albon looking to defend from Charles Leclerc, who is attacking, trying to get his way up the field, sort of like Perez has been able to do so far. Charles hasn't been going quite as quickly through the field, but he is making some progress as he goes around the outside of our teammate into turn 3. And does he have the exit to get ahead? No, Albon coming back at him here. I did say so far this season Albon's looked a bit more aggressive, a bit more punchy, and that is translating in this Grand Prix as well, as he goes down the inside of Leclerc into turn 4. The Ferrari getting a bit of a better exit, and he is able to get ahead. Not quite still. Albon still trying to keep his nose in around the outside, but not quite able to get the move done. Leclerc does in the end get the move done, as you'd expect from a much quicker car and the reigning world champion. And for now, Albon sits down in P9 as we head on to lap 10 now. Perez into the pit lane off those soft compound tyres. Obviously, he's going to have to come in earlier. It'll be interesting to see if he goes for a 1-stop or 2-stop, though. You would think he'd pit onto the hards and try to push those to the end, but we'll just have to wait and see. That, for now, at least puts us into P4, but we are straight away now once again under attack from Esteban Ocon. We go defensive into turn 4, but he just sweeps around our outside. There was nothing I could do about that. He had so much pace on us heading into that corner, so that's now us down to P5. We've also got Gasly just behind us and Leclerc on the back of this train, as well as Ocon in P4 and Alonso P3. A very good race for Alpine so far. Looking on to lap number 12 now. Leclerc looking to make the move on Pierre Gasly around the outside of turn 1, and he does get the move done there. Gasly, a poor exit out of the corner. It looks to be the better move. He's around the outside of turn 1 there, as opposed to the inside, just because of how high speed the corner is, and it being pretty much a 90-degree corner now. As we head a little bit further on to lap 12 here, Zhou Guanyu spinning at turn 4 there, and George Russell running a little bit wide through the corner, smashes into the Alfa Romeo, and he's out of the Grand Prix. Mercedes has had such a horrible start to this season, and that's the last thing they will have wanted to see there. Russell making a very silly mistake. It should have been easily avoidable, but running straight into the Alfa Romeo and losing that front tyre, and that did cause a safety car, so we'll be coming into the pit lane at the end of lap 13 here to come onto the hard compound tyres. But the guys that would be second to pit, these front guys, all going on, and they're not going to pit under safety car because they don't want to double stack, which is very silly in my opinion. I don't know why the teams made those calls. You'll lose less time double stacking than you will not pitting under safety car, so that doesn't really make sense to me. We're obviously coming into the hard compound tyres, but you can see Schumacher, our teammate Albon, Gasly, and Leclerc, and also Lando Norris a bit further down the field, all continuing on here without pitting because they didn't want to double stack, which I think is just a really silly move. They're all going to be an entire pit stop behind the rest of us now, which obviously when you double stack, you don't lose an entire pit stop worth of time. So, yeah, in the end, I think that's going to really hurt these guys' races. We go for an order check now on lap 16. Leclerc leading the way ahead of Gasly, Albon, and Schumacher. As I just said, those top 4 guys are yet to make a pit stop, and so they're going to be in a real poor position unless they get really lucky with another safety car pretty much straight away after this safety car. We then got Carlos Sainz actually leading the way in P5 once everyone makes their pit stops. Hamilton sitting just behind him in P6. There's Norris in P7, still yet to make a stop. Then you've got Alonso and Ocon sitting P8 and P9. And for now, it is ourselves rounding out the points in P10 with Sergio Perez just behind us, also looking to make his way towards the front of the field again. He is on the hard compound tyres, as I said, would be the wise strategy to make. And so interesting to see if he actually is able to stretch those right to the end of the Grand Prix. And Verstappen right down in P15. It's not been great for Red Bull so far, really. Max starting right towards the front of the grid, ending up down the back. and Perez for now sort of mid-top 10 once everyone makes their pit stops. So not their best weekend by far, but also not their worst, definitely, by far, as we get underway for the safety car restart, heading on to lap 17. Not a good enough restart to overtake Esteban Ocon straight away here into turn 1, but maybe towards turn 3 we can have a little bit of a look. We has been good enough to obviously hold off Sergio Perez. We've actually pulled a little bit of a gap, so he gets a little bit caught napping there on the restart. As we head up towards turn 3, we're going to maybe look a little to the inside just to sort of scare Ocon, but Ocon takes the opportunity to dive not just his teammate, but also Norris going for the double overtake into turn 3. He gets ahead of Fernando Alonso. He's still alongside Lando Norris as Yuki Tsunoda retires from the Grand Prix. We'll have to look at a replay of that in just a moment, but looking up ahead to Esteban Ocon to the inside of turn 4, and he will have the traction to get ahead of the McLaren. So a very, very good restart there for the Frenchman, but looking a bit back at what happened to Yuki Tsunoda here on the restart into turn 3, just doesn't slow down enough, smashes into the back of Max Verstappen, loses his front left wheel and front wing, and that is him out of the Grand Prix. So interesting to see if Verstappen got a bit of rear wing damage from that, maybe, and yeah, I guess we'll tell if his pace is real bad. But here on lap 17, all the guys that didn't pit under safety car now into the pit lane. So Gasly, Leclerc, Albon, Schumacher, and Lando Norris coming into the pit lane here, and there'll now be an entire pit stop behind the entire field. So I really don't get that strategy call. That's something that I really hope gets looked into the next version of the game, because yeah, that's been a thing for quite a while now. As we head on to lap 18 now, this has now caused a bit of a front row battle with all these guys getting backed up behind those guys. Get to pit, it's going to be 3 wide behind Sainz, Hamilton, and Ocon, and Esteban Ocon around the outside gets the best exit, and so that is the Alpine of Esteban Ocon, the Frenchman, leading the way here in Austria legitimately as we head into turn 4. We're to the inside of Fernando Alonso. Ocon locks up under the pressure of leading the Grand Prix, runs wide in the turn 4, so Hamilton back through to the lead. He's now side by side with Carlos Sainz around the outside of the double left. Is Sainz in the Ferrari able to get the run? Yes, he is, into P2, so Ocon has to slot back into P3. Ocon actually sticks his nose back down the inside there, doesn't want to give up the position, but in the end Sainz does get the move done, and that actually backs Ocon into Alonso, which means we can get our nose down the inside of Alonso into the second to last corner, but that gets us into P4, and Perez smashing into the side of Alonso there, damages his front wing, and so you can just see there his end plate flying across the screen, and so that is another disaster here for Red Bull in the Austrian Grand Prix. Perez will have to come into the pit lane to fix his front wing there. Ocon again attacks Sainz into turn 1. He gets a poor exit, and so just like towards the start of the race, we get a very nice exit compared to the Alpine out of turn 1, and so we get ourselves into P3, but Ocon straight away diving to our inside into turn 3. Also, again, dives to try and get on Sainz as well, but not able to do it. He did get the move on us, though, and now we find ourselves in an Alpine sandwich with Ocon ahead of us, Alonso behind us, as we head down towards turn 4, though we don't get attacked there, luckily enough, and Ocon, again, looking to try and get ahead of Carlos Sainz, but that is such a shame. Sergio Perez, as you can see here at the end of lap 19, he lost a lot of time to us now, and he will come into the pit lane, and so yeah, a real poor race for the Red Bull guys at the moment, because Perez will drop right out of the points, and Verstappen will be down in P8, so he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to score some points for himself and for the team. As we head on to lap number 20, we are right behind the Alpine of Ocon, though. He has a poor run out of turn 1 again, just slightly losing the rear, and so we're going to deploy the bit of battery that we've got. We've got the DRS, he has DRS and Sainz as well, but we've got a lot closer to him, and the slipstream. He goes defensive into turn 3, so we'll go to the outside, try and get the better run out of the corner, just about keeping our noses there, and we do get the run out of the corner. We've all got DRS because we're still close enough to Sainz for the front of us to get the DRS off of him. We go to the outside of turn 4. Ocon defensive to the inside. We go around the outside of the Alpine, and unfortunately not quite able to get the exit that we need to get ourselves into P3. But this is a great battle, and somehow a battle for a podium position between the two Alpines and myself. But on to lap 21 now. Alonso runs into the back of us into turn 3, and you can see there he's lost the front wing end plate there, his front right end plate, and so at the end of lap 21, he's going to come into the pit lane now to change his front wing. A lot of front wings getting damaged and replaced here in Austria, but that now just means it's a two-way battle between Ocon and myself for this final podium position as we head on to lap 22. Now looking a bit further back, Charles Leclerc closing up to Zhou Guanyu for P6. He goes to the inside of turn 1. It's normally the outside that works a bit better, but maybe it works for the quicker car. No, it doesn't, as Zhou easily sweeps around the outside there. Charles Leclerc almost actually getting a damaged front wing from that. As we look a bit further back at Alex Albon, our teammate, trying to get ahead of Lando Norris for P9. There's also Schumacher and Perez battling away behind, so Albon will be wanting to get a move on here to make sure the Red Bull doesn't close up and take the points off him, but Albon very easily through into P9 for now, and that's 2 extra points he'll be scoring, although he locks up into turn 3, inviting the McLaren back down the inside, but he gets a better exit anyway, and Norris does get the DRS, but it's too much of a gap for Albon to lose that position in the end there. As we look a bit further forward, Leclerc did in the end get that move done on Zhou with some DRS into turn 4, and so for now, Leclerc into P6 behind Verstappen in P5, although now here comes Sergio Perez closing in on Lando Norris, just like I said would happen just a couple laps after that. Perez around the outside of turn 1, gets the move on the McLaren into P10, so Norris out of the points, and it's gone from such a good position from McLaren in the sprint round to being no points so far in the Grand Prix, but Perez now all over the back of Albon, for some reason looks to the inside of the last corner, so he's now had a shocking run. Lando all over the back of the Red Bull now as they head onto the main straight towards turn 1 here on lap 25. Norris to the inside, so Perez you would think would get the better run, and he does? Yes, he does. Lando actually did a bit better than we have seen from the AS so far, but Sergio does get the move done, but I have just noticed Sergio Perez on the soft compound tyres, and so you'd have to assume he's going to pit again as we head on to lap 26. This time, he goes to the inside of Albon, so is Albon able to hold it around the outside? Perez was almost completely ahead by the time they're in the braking zone, but Albon does sweep around the outside and get the position, but Sergio Perez straight away coming back at him, although Albon actually got the DRS off of Perez then, so Perez gets swamped by Albon and Norris. Norris now going for the double overtake. He's ahead of Sergio. Is he able to get around our teammate? Yes, he is around the outside of turn 3, so Norris into P9, Albon into P10. He's got Sergio Perez just behind him, and now it's Albon's turn to be the one without DRS, and so the Red Bull going to come back at him here. Albon goes defensive into turn 4. Perez looks through the outside. Is he able to do it? Yes, he is on those soft compound tyres in a much quicker car, able to get himself alongside our teammate into turn 4 and through into turn 5. Now, yes, he does get the move done into P10. Unfortunately for our teammate there, dropping out of the points-paying positions. And actually, Albon going very slowly. Look how much Alonso just closed up on him. I think our teammate has some front wing damage, unfortunately. He was looking good to maybe score a point or two in this Grand Prix, and he is going to peel into the pit lane at the end of lap 26 here. Alonso through into P11. And that is such a shame for Alex. He's had some good pace this season, been so aggressive, so assertive in this season so far, and that is going to be him pretty much counted out of the points for the rest of this Grand Prix unless something crazy happens later on. But there isn't a whole lot of time left now as we cut on to lap 27, and it's Verstappen that has passed us around the outside into turn 4. I try to go down the inside. Who's going to have the better exit? I try and get the traction down. We're going to go side by side with the Red Bull heading into turn 5 round the outside. Am I able to get it done? Not quite. Verstappen just swings straight across in front of us there and nicks the front of our car, so we're going to have to call our mark here.
Okay, be careful with the front wing, you've taken some minor damage. The underbody's taken a little damage, just watch out for it. No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving.
And so that is not what we wanted to hear here. We did get a bit of damage from Verstappen coming across us there. We also got a bit of underbody damage, which I'm guessing came from just going over curbs and such. But here we can see on lap 28, Stroll retiring from the Grand Prix. No safety car or anything caused by that though, but unfortunately it does mean we're going to be losing a fair bit of pace now with those two different bits of damage. And so here on lap 32 now, getting towards the end of the Grand Prix, Leclerc easily down our inside into turn 1 there, and that is him into P5. I'm going to try and attack him again though, because there's only really 4 laps to go, and so I reckon we can maybe hold off this Ferrari if we can get ourselves back ahead around the outside of turn 3. Are we able to get it? No, not quite. Unfortunately, that Ferrari is just so much quicker, and here on lap 31, this was our teammate Albon coming into the pit lane because he did pit onto soft compound tyres before, and so he has to change those over. Unfortunately, our teammate now second last on track, way out of the points. But here we go onto lap 34. Max Verstappen attacking Ocon for the last podium position. There's some front wing end plate going flying. Whose is it? It is the Alpines. It is Esteban Ocon who has got some damage. Are Alpine going to try and just last to the end of the race? He's still in the fight for the podium here. He could potentially hold them off for 3 more laps. He does have a very quick Verstappen and a very quick Leclerc just behind him though, and so it could be a bit of a battle, but you would assume it'd be more worthwhile to just stay out and try and deal with the damage, but that's not what they've gone for. Ocon into the pit lane here with just 2 laps remaining. I don't really understand that call from the Alpine pit wall. He's going to lose more time doing this than he would have by just slowly getting around the track, missing a little bit of front wing. But now as we head on to lap 35, that opens up to Verstappen that opens Verstappen up to attack from Charles Leclerc, but Leclerc not quite going for it yet. As we look up ahead to the leader, Lewis Hamilton, actually under attack by Albon here, trying to get himself back on the lead lap, and there's contact between our teammate who's a lap down and the race leader, Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton has now broken his front wing, 1.5 laps to go. Surely you would assume that the Mercedes guys would leave Hamilton out. He's got a 5.5 second gap over Sainz in second place, but that was really not on by our teammate to have dived up the inside of turn 3 there on the race leader with 1.5 laps to go, breaking Hamilton's front wing. I get a feeling Albon could be in quite a bit of trouble because of that. That is really not on. And unfortunately for Hamilton there, the team have decided to call it. With 1 lap to go, the race leader is going to come into the pit lane, 100% guaranteeing he loses the race win here to change that front wing. And so that means Carlos Sainz is now going to lead the Austrian Grand Prix with 1 lap to go. And you would assume, unless something goes massively wrong for him, he's going to win the Grand Prix by quite a bit, 8.5 seconds, over Verstappen, who finds himself under attack from Charles Leclerc, who's going to look to now make it a Ferrari 1-2 around Red Bull's home Grand Prix. That could be some mental playing around there by Ferrari to, really get under Red Bull's skin and dominate at the Red Bull team's home Grand Prix. Leclerc around the outside of turn 3. Which one of the two is going to have DRS? It is going to be Verstappen. So Leclerc gets ahead, but Verstappen has the DRS. So Leclerc goes defensive into turn 4. Verstappen will look to go around the outside and hold on to that second spot on the podium. There's a bit of wheel banging between the two of them. The reigning world champion trying to fend off the man who won the championship before him here. So these two guys are at the top of their game, and Leclerc does hold off Verstappen, and for now it is a Ferrari 1-2 with just a couple corners to go. And meanwhile for us, somehow an incredible 4th place. All we have to do is bring this home a couple more corners. We've got 5 seconds back to Gasly. Hamilton in P6. What a disaster there for Mercedes in the end, with Russell out and Hamilton losing the race win with 1 lap to go. It is a Ferrari 1-2 for Sainz and Leclerc, and it is an incredible P4 for us here at the Austrian Grand Prix.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Smiling faces on the pit wall then after that superb win here in Spielberg. And rightly so. A brilliant effort from the whole team. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So here we are with the results for the Austrian Grand Prix. Sainz winning the race by 8.8 seconds over his teammate Leclerc to make it a Ferrari 1-2, and then Verstappen P3, ourselves P4 in an incredible effort to get some good points for ourselves and the team. Albon unfortunately right down in P16, having to make 3 pit stops. That's such a shame there for our teammate. He was looking good to get himself a couple of points. And in terms of the overall standing, Sainz getting the maximum amount of points minus the fastest lap. That goes to Perez this weekend. But the sprint race win and the race win there for Sainz, getting himself a real good chunk of points. And Leclerc also getting second there. So a real top weekend from Ferrari. A poor one from Red Bull. In terms of the driver standings, we now sit P11 on 13 points and Albon in P13 on 3 points. So swapping positions there with Albon, and another real lucky good scoring points for ourselves here this season, which should solidify ourselves quite highly in the table come the end of the season. Not massively high, or maybe, it gets us in the mid-pack, and it helps us out in the constructors as well, because we are now tied with AlphaTauri on 16 points each. We are moved to 6th place in the constructors standings, and so hopefully we can try and keep that going. It doesn't look like we'll really be able to move that much further forward in the season because McLaren are quite a bit. They've got double the points we do already. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. We're in Monza next, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.